Hello everyone and welcome to Stan the Wine Man TV. I am your host, Stan Rattan, and this is the Blue Collar Wine Show where I help you spend your wine dollars wisely. Aside from just reviewing wines, I also like to educate a bit about wines, and I'm going to add a little bit more education as we go along here, kind of turning the corner on that particular type of thing, although I still will continue to review wines because, you know, that's what it's all about, finding great wines for the money. Now, this one is going to be called A Tale of Two Sauvignon Blancs. And the reason I'm doing this is because I keep thinking about balance. When people talk about balance in wines, what are we talking about? Well, we're talking about a good combination of acidity, fruit, tannins. In a white wine, you're not going to get tannins, of course, unless they use a little bit of wood. And you're going to get some tannins, but not like a red wine. But you want to balance the fruit and acidity with a white wine. And of course, if there's any residual sugar in the wine, that has to be balanced as well. That's what balance is all about. And so when you're drinking a wine, you don't want it to be awkward. I use the word awkward a lot. I think a lot of people in my realm use that word. What awkward means when you're drinking a wine is it just doesn't seem to fit. The pieces don't seem to fit together. In other words, you'll get this flavor against that flavor and they're just kind of all over the place. Bad juxtaposition of flavors. Maybe some people may not notice that, but that's what it's all about. Maybe you're saying, well, this wine just isn't right. It's because it doesn't have balance. So, a wine, we're doing Sauvignon Blanc here, one from South Africa and one from Washington State. And both of them are very different, but are they balanced wines, even though they're entirely different from each other? That's the point of this episode. And plus, I really like them both. So, we'll talk about that. We have to be careful, too, when we're approaching a wine, not to have a preconceived idea of what that wine should be. In other words, some people get stuck on acidity. They want their whites to be acid-driven wines. Well, that's fine, but that doesn't mean it's not a good wine if it's not acid-driven. For instance, I like Sauvignon Blancs that have good acidity, but after tasting this one, I realized that a Sauvignon Blanc doesn't necessarily have to have bracing acidity to be a well-made Sauvignon Blanc. And that's important. Don't go into your wine drinking with preconceived notions of what that you think that wine should be. That's true with Cab, Merlot, Cab Franc, Petit Verdot, any one of those wines, Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay, Riesling, it can go on and on and on. Same. So we're going to get started with these two Sauvignon Blancs that are really entirely different, and we'll talk about why and why they're good wines anyway. This is a 2023 Salt River Sauvignon Blanc from Cape. This is from South Africa, Stellenbosch. The winemaker is Duncan Savage. He used to work for Cape Point Winery, became very famous for making mineral-driven white wines that got high scores by critics. He went out on his own to start Savage Wines. And this is a lineup in the Savage Wine portfolio. Salt River is the name of the town where his winery is. So it's Salt River Sauvignon Blanc, Cape Town, South Africa. Let's give it a little rinse. Duncan Savage, I did a little research on him. Really highly respected winemaker. In fact, his wines demand respect from wine critics. So it'll be interesting to taste this wine along with you guys. Color is golden to a kind of a hay color, golden hay. Hopefully you can see that. This whiteboard kind of looks that way. Thanks to Bob and Kathy Ward. Let's see what we get on the nose. So I get some orange blossom, some tropical fruits, a little bit of mango, even some banana, even though I hate to use that word term. And I would like to get in the comments, when you see banana on a wine descriptor, why does that turn you off? Because when I put banana on one of my descriptors when I'm writing up signs for the store, oftentimes that slows sales down of that wine. This has banana, mango, orange on the nose. It actually reminds me a bit of an Albarino. Let's see what we get on the palate. Again, very tropical, very fresh. Not super high acidity, but it does have some minerality, especially on the finish. I'm going to show you the bottle. It is $20. So it's in a nice price point, I think, for a really well-made Sauvignon Blanc. Now, normally, I would look for a little more acidity in my Sauvignon Blancs, but this has so much complexity. The fruit notes are wonderful. You get that orange, you get that mango, you get a little bit of pineapple as well in this one with that minerality. A little bit of saline coming through on the backside. Beautiful Sauvignon Blanc, not that your typical Sauv Blanc. But I tell you, those pineapple mango notes really linger on the backside. This has a long finish, and I'm even getting a little bit of white pepper on the finish. According to what I read, this is made in stainless steel, also concrete, eggs, and a little bit of older wood. So the wood doesn't impart any flavors, probably gives it a little oxygen. Anyway, great bottle of wine, not your typical Sauv Blanc. Very balanced. All the elements work together to make this really nice, complex, fresh Sauvignon Blanc. Yeah, I love those tropical fruit notes right on the mid palate. Then it morphs into this kind of mineral-driven, a little bit of pineapple, saline comes through. Very interesting Sauvignon Blanc, very well made. I'm very excited to try some of Duncan Savage's wines. I know that Broadbent carries a lot of his wines. I really want to try them, so I'm hoping that I can get Chris to bring some from his portfolio with Winebow. I'm going to go straight up A. This is a solid Sauvignon Blanc, well made, not your typical Sauv Blanc. It's different than a Sancerre. It's different than a Puy Fumé. It's different than dishwashing in Sauv Blanc, but it is well made, well balanced Sauvignon Blanc. Quite delicious. Let's move on to the next one. This is one I recently discovered, and I just went gaga over this wine. This is the Alexandria Nicole A Squared Sauvignon Blanc, Horse Heaven Hills, Washington, 2024. So fresh off the block. This rolls in at $18. Sorry, I didn't have it written on the back, but I know it's $18. All right. Color is quite a bit clearer than the Salt River. Hopefully you can see that here. You almost can see through it. Very, very light hay color. See what we get on those. Okay, you get apple, pear, a little bit of some grass notes. The apple is really strong. I mean, it reminds me of a cross between a red and a green apple, with kind of an Asian pear thing coming through. And then there's a little bit of like a, you know, that five-stripe gum you get, you know, with those kind of tropical like pineapple and lime and all that together. I'm getting just a little bit of that on the back end of the on the aromas. Let's see what we get on the palate. So definitely more acidity than the Salt River, but it's in balance with the fruit. So this acid gives it a nice, fresh, juicy feel in the mouth. You get those like green and red apple notes. You get a little bit of a pear coming through. And I'm even getting a bit of there seems to be a little bit of a lime hit, barely, on the mid palate. Yeah, sort of a lime orange thing into a long finish. The finish is quite intense for a Sauvignon Blanc. Love this wine. I discovered it. I think it's a great Sauvignon Blanc from Washington State. This is obviously a great one. I'm going to go A on that one as well. It hasn't let me down. The first time I tried it, I loved it. I'm trying it again. I love it again. I love the Sauvignon Blanc. For entirely different reasons. This is a balanced Sauvignon Blanc as well because the acid and the fruit all work together in harmony with each other. So it makes it a nice flow across the palate. We're going to talk a little bit about integration, which is very close to balance, but we'll talk about that in the future. Right now we're just talking about balance and two entirely different balanced Sauvignon Blancs that really deliver. There you have it. Hope you're enjoying these. I hope you enjoy learning a little bit. That's important, to learn a little bit about the wine world. I don't want to get too deep because, you know, I am not a wine geek. I don't think I fit into that category. I love wine. I love talking about it. I'm deeply involved in the wine world, but I have to sell wine to masses of people throughout the year, and I've learned to develop a palate that's sort of a retail palate. I have my wines that I like, but they have to be balanced and they have to have good integration. Those are very important to me. Are they important to you? I'm sure they are. Thanks for taking a little time out of your day. Please subscribe to my channel. If you haven't already, then you'll see what's coming up. I'm going to try and involve a little bit more education along with reviews of the wines. You keep watching, and I'll keep helping you spend your wine dollars wisely.